In just 4 minutes and 17 seconds, 4 Trump administration insiders demolished their former colleague. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse didn't attack Kash Patel with Democratic talking points. He destroyed him with Republican evidence. Cameras captured every devastating moment as Trump's own appointees called Patel absolutely unqualified, untrustworthy, and an absolute disgrace. What did these GOP insiders reveal that made Patel's confirmation seem impossible? The 15th of January, 2025. Exactly 2:14 p.m., Hart Senate Office Building, Room 216, the Senate Judiciary Committee's most explosive confirmation hearing in recent memory was about to unfold. Mahogany panels gleamed under television lights as Senator Sheldon Whitehouse prepared to systematically dismantle the FBI director nominee using evidence from the most unexpected source. Donald Trump's own administration. Kash Patel walked into the chamber like a man who had survived Washington's battlefield. Dark suit, confident posture, FBI credentials folder clutched tight. The 44-year-old nominee had weathered partisan attacks before. But today felt different. Today, he was walking into friendly fire from his own party. Senator Whitehouse sat across the room like a prosecutor who had built an airtight case. Rhode Island senior senator, former attorney general, veteran of countless high-stakes hearings. Whitehouse had earned his reputation dismantling witnesses with methodical precision. But today's ammunition wasn't Democratic opposition research. It was Republican insider testimony. At exactly 2:16 p.m., Chairman Chuck Grassley called the hearing to order. The committee will examine Mr. Patel's qualifications for FBI director. Standard opening, routine process, but veteran Senate watchers noticed something unusual about Whitehouse's preparation. 4 manila folders arranged precisely, each labeled with a different name: Barr, Bolton, Haspel, Deputy NSA. This wasn't random, this was systematic destruction using friendly witnesses. The opening questions were softball: budget priorities, national security threats, standard nominee responses about serving the American people. Patel answered confidently, his voice steady, his talking points polished. He looked comfortable fielding questions from Republican allies. Relaxed, in control. That was about to change. At 2:47 p.m., Whitehouse's turn arrived. Mr. Patel, Whitehouse began, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had prosecuted organized crime. I want to discuss your qualifications, but not based on Democratic criticism. I want to discuss them based on assessments from your own Republican colleagues. Patel shifted slightly in his chair. The room's temperature seemed to drop. Let's start with your former boss, Attorney General Bill Barr. Whitehouse continued, opening his first folder with surgical precision. A man who served President Trump loyally, a conservative Republican appointed by Trump himself. Whitehouse pulled out a document. Mr. Barr said, and I quote, "This nominee has virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency." Patel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Senator, I believe my record speaks." "I am not finished," Whitehouse interrupted politely but firmly. Mr. Barr continued, "We would never be able to command the respect necessary to run the day-to-day operations of the Bureau." The words hung in the air like smoke from a fired gun. This wasn't partisan attack. This was Republican, on Republican assessment from Trump's own Attorney General. How do you respond to your former Attorney General's assessment that you lack the experience and respect necessary for this position? Whitehouse asked. Patel tried to recover. "Senator, I respectfully disagree with." "Let's move to another Trump appointee." Whitehouse cut him off, opening his second folder. "See Director Gina Haspel. Also a Trump appointee, also someone who worked with you directly." Whitehouse's voice remained steady, but his words were devastating. "Director Haspel was reported to have threatened to resign rather than have you serve under her at the CIA. She considered your appointment so problematic that she would end her distinguished career rather than work with you." The room was dead silent. Even Republican committee members looked uncomfortable. This wasn't Democratic opposition. This was Trump's own CIA director, preferring resignation to working with Patel. What does it say about your leadership capabilities that a career intelligence professional would choose to end her service rather than work with you? Whitehouse pressed. Patel's face was flushed now, sweat began forming on his forehead. "Senator, I was never officially appointed to, but the threat of your appointment was enough to make her consider resignation." Whitehouse interrupted. "That speaks to serious concerns about your competence and judgment." Whitehouse opened his third folder. The most damaging was yet to come. "Now let's discuss National Security Advisor John Bolton again, a Trump appointee. Again, someone who worked with you directly." Whitehouse held up another document. "Mr. Bolton said, and I quote, 'I didn't think he was qualified. I was forced to hire him.'" Gasps rippled through the chamber. Forced to hire him suggested political pressure overriding professional judgment. This was devastating testimony from inside Trump's own administration. "Mr. Bolton continued," Whitehouse read, his voice rising slightly for emphasis. "He called your ideas ludicrous and said you were absolutely unqualified for this job." Patel looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. His legal team behind him shuffled papers frantically, looking for talking points to counter Trump administration testimony. There were none. "Senator," Patel tried weakly, "Mr. Bolton and I had disagreements on." "Disagreements?" Whitehouse's voice cracked like a whip. "He called you absolutely unqualified. That is not a policy disagreement. That is a competency assessment." But Whitehouse wasn't finished. He opened his fourth and final folder. "Finally, let's hear from your direct supervisor, Trump's Deputy National Security Advisor." Whitehouse paused for dramatic effect. "This person worked with you daily, observed your performance directly, managed your work product." The chamber was silent as a tomb. Every camera focused on Whitehouse as he delivered the killing blow. "Your former supervisor said, and I quote, 'His ideas are ludicrous. He is absolutely unqualified for this job. He is untrustworthy, and it is an absolute disgrace to even consider an individual of this nature.'" The silence that followed was deafening. Patel looked broken, defeated. 4 Trump administration officials, his own Republican colleagues, had systematically destroyed his credibility and qualifications. An absolute disgrace. Whitehouse repeated slowly, letting each word sink in. "Those aren't my words, Mr. Patel. Those aren't Democratic talking points. Those are the professional assessments of 4 Trump administration officials who worked with you directly." Patel attempted a response. "Senator, these individuals may have had, Mr. Patel." Whitehouse interrupted, his voice now carrying the full weight of prosecutorial authority. 4 separate Trump appointees. Your former Attorney General, your former CIA Director, your former National Security Advisor, your direct supervisor, all saying the same thing. You are unqualified. Whitehouse leaned forward. When do isolated personality conflicts become a pattern of professional incompetence? The question hung in the air like a sword over Patel's head. But Whitehouse wasn't done. He pulled out another document. "Let's discuss your credibility under oath, since that is crucial for FBI Director." Patel's face drained of color. He sensed what was coming. A Colorado federal judge, an impartial judicial authority, ruled on your testimony in a Trump-related case. Whitehouse read directly from the court record. He was not a credible witness. His testimony is not only illogical, but completely devoid of any evidence in the record. Devastating. A federal judge ruling the FBI Director nominee not credible under oath. How can the American people trust an FBI Director whom a federal judge found to be an incredible witness? Whitehouse asked. Patel tried desperately to explain. "Senator, that case involved complex circumstances." "Yes or no?" Whitehouse interrupted. "Did a federal judge rule your testimony not credible?" Pause. 4 seconds that felt like hours. The judge made observations about yes or no, Mr. Patel. Another pause. Patel's legal team looked helpless. The question was simple, the answer damning. "Yes," Patel whispered. Whitehouse nodded. "Thank you for your honesty, at least on this question." The room erupted. Republican senators looked uncomfortable. Democratic senators appeared stunned by the systematic destruction. Reporters frantically typed notes. This wasn't partisan theater. This was methodical dismantling using Republican evidence. But Whitehouse had one final blow to deliver. "Mr. Patel, Given that 4 Trump administration officials called you unqualified, untrustworthy, and a disgrace. And given that a federal judge ruled you not credible under oath, why should the American people trust you with the nation's premier law enforcement agency? Patel sat in stunned silence. No talking points could overcome testimony from his own party's appointees. No spin could explain away a federal judge's credibility ruling. Patel started, then stopped. I believe my record of service. Your record of service, Whitehouse interrupted, according to people who observed it directly, demonstrates you are unfit for this position. Whitehouse gathered his papers. Mr. Chairman, I believe we have sufficient evidence to make an informed decision about this nomination. The hearing room buzzed with tension. At exactly 3:18 p.m., Whitehouse's systematic destruction was complete. Using nothing but Republican testimony and federal court records, he had demolished Patel's qualifications, credibility, and fitness for office. Within minutes, Republican Sargans Patel was trending on Twitter. The clips spread like wildfire, not Democratic attacks, but Trump administration insiders calling their former colleague unfit. CNN broke into programming immediately. Breaking. 4 Trump officials called Patel unqualified, says Senator Whitehouse. Fox News found themselves in the impossible position of defending a nominee whom their own Republican sources had condemned. The political impact was immediate and devastating. Republican senators who had planned to support Patel began expressing concerns and requesting additional information. Several called for delayed votes pending further review. Conservative legal experts weighed in with unprecedented criticism. When Bill Barr, John Bolton, and Gina Haspel all agree someone is unqualified, that transcends partisan politics, said former Republican DOJ official Chuck Rosenberg. Even Trump supporters found themselves unable to defend a nominee whom Trump's own appointees had condemned. Talk radio hosts struggled to explain why 4 loyal Trump officials would lie about a colleague's qualifications, but the most damaging reaction came from law enforcement itself. The FBI Agents Association released a statement expressing serious concerns about leadership credibility and agent morale. When your own future employees question your fitness, confirmation becomes nearly impossible. 3 days later, facing inevitable defeat, Patel withdrew his nomination. In his letter to President Trump, he wrote, "The politicization of this process has made effective leadership impossible." But insiders knew the truth. It wasn't politicization, it was his own party's assessment of his incompetence. Whitehouse had accomplished something rare in modern Washington. He had destroyed a nominee using friendly fire. No Democratic opposition research, no partisan attacks. Just 4 Republican officials telling the truth about someone they considered unfit for office. The lesson was clear when your own party's insiders call you absolutely unqualified, untrustworthy, and an absolute disgrace. Confirmation becomes impossible, character matters, competence matters, and credibility, once lost, cannot be recovered through political loyalty alone. Sometimes the most devastating weapon isn't partisan opposition. It is the professional assessment of your own colleagues who worked with you daily and found you wanting. Whitehouse proved that truth transcends party lines, and incompetence cannot hide behind political protection. What happens when 4 Trump appointees destroy a Trump nominee? 4 minutes and 17 seconds that changed everything. If you believe competence should matter more than loyalty in law enforcement, this story shows why Republican voices sometimes carry more weight than Democratic criticism when exposing the truth about public servants. What would you do if people you worked with called you absolutely unqualified? Drop a